Okay, I'm starting over. Let me just test something out. Okay. If I can find my live somewhere like on my phone that I can see like if the audio's playing. I can't do that because it's not showing up for some reason, but oh, hold on. It's playing. I can't do that because it's not showing up for some reason, but oh, hold on. Okay, so looks like the audio's working. Um, hopefully I got some people who are gonna hop in this thing now. Uh, Good. Yes, let's go. Okay. Finally. Finally. We're back. I'm back, baby. Thank God. Okay. So, while I was silenced, I was trying to talk about UFC 294 and how good that card was. I know there was some like complaints about it not being good. Maybe it was the prelims cuz as far as I'm concerned, excuse me, the main card was really good. I mean, three out of the five fights were finishes. One, unfortunately, was like an uneventful, anticlimactic no contest with Walker Alive, which sucks because that was one of the fights I was like most looking forward to. The co-main was pretty decent. Usman and Khamzat, good fight, and then of course Islam Makhachev's finish over Alexander Volkanovski. We cannot forget that. I did miss like the first three fights though on the main card because I went out to this like retreat where there was like shitty connection. I had to like go to this one room finally where I found some internet, and that's where I was able to finally connect and actually catch up, which was like the last couple fights, which really counted. So with Walker Uncle Live, I didn't miss much, but I mean. We had Ikram Aliskerov getting a knockout over Walry Alves like I knew he would. Saeed Nurmagomedov submitting that guy that came from ONE FC. So as far as I'm concerned, the main card was pretty good. And yeah, I mean, it sucks for Ankalaev, man, to go through two back-to-back fights with sort of like a dead end. Like the fight before he fought for the title and arguably should have got the win, not a draw. So he kind of got screwed out of, being the champion there. And then his rebound fight ends in a no contest. So they got to run that back. They got to run that back right away. Winner gets closer to a title shot. Volk got way too cocky. He had it coming. He underestimated Islam. I don't think he underestimated Islam, but in the fight, he definitely got cocky because he was doing some talking, like when Islam, went for a takedown. Volk's like he did a bit of gamesmanship from defending the takedown. Like when he did that, I'm like, come on, Volk, just shut up, just stop talking and fight, because he didn't really fight against Islam. Really, he was too much on the defense, gave up ground, and then got kicked in the head. And there's really not much that can be said about that. And honestly, you can't really make the whole he lost because of the short notice excuses because as far as the wrestling grappling goes, Volkanovski was fine. Volkanovski was defending takedowns with ease. It looked like he could have kept up that defense for like another 5 rounds if he wanted to. He looked stronger in the clinch than Islam, won the clinch positions. It was just the striking, man. Islam is tricky like that because when his wrestling doesn't work, he's got a plan B. He can strike with you, he can outstrike you, and he can knock you out like he did to Volkanovski. So, and I mean, honestly, it's impressive that he did that to Volk because that's like been a weakness in Volk's game for years. That was like how he lost his that was like his first professional career loss 10 years ago, and then 10 years later he loses via the same method, a head kick. I mean, that's how Holloway caught him. And it's crazy that after all this time, Islam was the one to capitalize in the opening. But yeah, you're the kick specialist couldn't. But what Islam did really well in that fight is he did a good job attacking the legs, leg kicks, and then going to the body. And then when Volk was expecting more body kicks, Islam went upstairs. Although Volk did block the head kick. He blocked with one hand, which you can't do. One arm was down, like to prep for like maybe parrying a body kick. And then Islam's shin just brushed over the top of Volkanovski's head. And yeah, that was done. But man, Islam Makhachev, that is one dangerous man. And I'm telling y'all, he's not going anywhere anytime soon. He's going to be champion for a long, long time. It's been a year. He's defended the belt twice, and his resume is really good. Like, people used to disrespect his resume, saying he's only beaten bums, but now he's beaten Charles. That win aged well. We know how great Volkanovski is. And I know he's a featherweight, but Volk showed in that first fight that he can hang in the lightweight division, given how close the first one was. And he's already fought at lightweight before. He was undefeated at lightweight before Islam beat him twice. So Volkanovski at lightweight is good, and he's big and he's strong in that division. Islam Makhachev is just better. And I mean, if he can beat Volk and Charles, and he's going to rematch Charles and beat him again, who's going to stop him? Justin Gaethje? Like, by that point, he's earned the right to want to move up to welterweight and challenge himself. Yeah, but Ank knew better than to throw an illegal knee. Yeah, it could have just been like a heat in the moment thing, maybe. He was probably like expecting Walker to get up, and maybe he just mistimed the knee. The first fight was so close, Volk thought he had him figured out. Yep, true. Short notice ain't no excuse because the fight didn't go in the fourth and fifth, and he got starched in the first round. Exactly. And if that fight was like a full camp, full notice, I think the same thing would have happened. It would have been Islam Makhachev being patient, walking Volkanovski down, Volk fainting, stance switching, Islam shooting for a failed takedown, them being in the clinch, and then Islam would set up the head kick, and he'd land the head kick and still finish Volkanovski regardless. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy because Volkanovski's hella tough, hella hard to finish, and Islam did that. And I had a feeling going in that Islam was going to win again, but more dominantly and with a finish. Although in my like full card prediction video, I picked Islam by a decision, I said he'd win again easier. And essentially that's what happened. But going in, I just had like Rose versus, or no, Whaley versus Joanna 2, Usman versus Masvidal 2 vibes were like, the first fight was a decision. But the champ who won by decision doesn't get the respect by fans, and the challenger gets all the sympathy, and the champ has to deal with that annoying disrespect until getting the rematch where they come back and make a statement. I just knew that was going to happen. I knew that Islam was going to come back and get a finish like Usman did against Masvidal in the rematch, or like how Whaley, even though the rematch wasn't for the title, the first fight was close. People thought Joanna beat her. The rematch, you can no longer argue because Whaley dominated and knocked her out. I just had those exact same vibes for this one. And I was close to picking Volkanovski, but I had to really think about it. And, when your gut is trying to tell you something, you can't ignore your gut. And I've made that mistake in this game of predictions by ignoring my gut feeling. I had a feeling that Israel would knock out Alex Pereira, and I picked Alex Pereira, and look what happened. So I had a feeling Francis would beat Cyril Gain. I picked Gain. Look what happened. So in this instance, I'm like, no, I'm going to trust what I feel is going to happen. And it got me to be, 4-0-1 on the main card, with the one being the no contest. But I got 4 out of my 5 predictions on the main card correct. And I'm sure if Ank doesn't throw the illegal knee, I think I get that one right too, because I just think he's better than Johnny Walker. And it looked like when they started to open up that Magomed was getting the better of him. He got the takedown. He was controlling him on the ground, was threatening the submission. I think he could have kept that up. I think he could have kept that up for like another few rounds, or another 2 rounds, and got a decision like I predicted. Hold on. Why does she need to be cut though? She won. Like, I'm looking up UFC 294 right now, and the result is showing that this chick you're mentioning won. What upcoming fight are you looking forward to? Most looking forward to? Man, UFC 296 is looking real good. I'm really looking forward to Leon versus Colby, but then we got UFC 295, Bones versus Miocic, and Yuri versus Alex Pereira. I'm going to go with Leon versus Colby. I think that's one of my most highly anticipated fights of this year to close out the year, I'm going to say. But UFC 295, though, is looking juicy. Like, I'm really hyped for those ones as well. But man, Khamzat versus Usman, I nailed that prediction. I picked Khamzat Chimaev to win the fight by decision. And that's one of the rare times that I've not only got a fight prediction correct, but I've got the method right too. Because usually I'll always get the result right, but I'll always miss the method. I'll say this person wins by decision, they win by knockout. Or I say this person wins by knockout or sub, they win by decision. So it feels good to like be spot on. I knew that Khamzat Chimaev was going to like have a fast, strong start, and that Usman would take till round 3 to open up. I literally said Khamzat would win the first 2 rounds and then lose round 3. He would slow down. Usman would show his champ experience in round 3, but it'd be a bit too late. And you could argue Usman won the second round, but he was low active. There was no activity on either side. Usman did thoroughly outstrike him. He did like thoroughly outstrike him, but the issue with that is there was low activity, and then Chimaev took him down at the end. So you could kind of make an argument that Khamzat won round 2 against Usman because he didn't take that much damage on the feet. Both had low output, and then Khamzat took him down. Oh, Mason Herring, you're back. I have not heard from you in a long time. Irene versus Carol Rosa. Yes, I'm excited for that. I hate that she's like all the way on like the early prelims, man. Come on. I want to go out to the bar and watch her like on like the main prelims. But now I just have to watch her from Fight Pass on my phone, you know. I want to actually watch her on the TV. What's up, DJ, my boy? I've been doing good. What do you think of Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko 2? I haven't heard from you since that fight. Usman still got it. I agree. Takedown won him the round, and round 1 was a 10-8. Yeah, that was like a very dominant round. So I think if Usman could have pushed it more in round 2, he could have maybe mounted a draw. Maybe he could have even got a 29-28 decision, but I knew that Khamzat would win this fight 2 rounds to 1. I knew he wasn't going to finish Usman, though, because I said going in that Kamaru Usman is different. He's different from anyone Khamzat's ever fought before. So Khamzat's going to get tested, and they're going to go the distance, but Khamzat's going to win. And I'm wondering if Dana's going to have second thoughts about Chimaev getting a title shot against Sean Strickland. I mean, I don't really think that Khamzat deserves it, because his only wins at middleweight is Gerald Mearshart and Kevin Holland, not ranked. Wait, no, Holland was a catchweight though. And then Usman, a former champion, but a former welterweight champion. A win over Usman is the kind of win that should earn him like a title shot at 170, but he's given up on 170. So I think that Khamzat Chimaev should fight Paulo Costa, reschedule that fight. He needs one more big test, and I think Dricus du Plessis should just get his title shot at Sean Strickland, because he's been in the middleweight division longer. He's beat more ranked top guys. He's beat Brunson, and he beat Robert. That's like, that win alone is more deserving of a title shot than, you know, what Chimaev has done. So, but I mean, hey, if they're gonna make that fight, Strickland and Chimaev, it is what it is. And Usman wants Dricus du Plessis. I guess they can make that fight, but it doesn't make any sense. I think Usman needs to go back to he needs to go back to 170, because at middleweight, Usman's just not going to have the physical advantages that he did at welterweight. Because at welterweight, Usman had like size and strength over a lot of his opponents combined with his wrestling. Whereas at middleweight, he's going to be fighting guys who match his size, are going to be bigger than him, strong enough to shuck him off, stuff his takedowns, maybe even overpower him in the striking exchanges too. He's not going to have that big power advantage that he's kind of accustomed to. So if he fights du Plessis is bigger than Usman. He might be stronger than Usman. He can grapple. He might be able to out grapple Usman like Khamzat did. He's got enough power to hurt Usman. So And now that he's got his nose fixed, he's going to have better cardio. So I think Dricus would win that fight against Usman. I'm trying to see Usman catch a dub. So Usman should go back to 170, fight the winner of Wonderboy Shavkat, or fight Bilal Muhammad, the fight that was already supposed to happen. And as far as Chimaev's concerned, bro, he has like 2 rounds to finish Sean Strickland, because if he doesn't get him out of there early, he's going to gas. Sean Strickland with the 5-round experience and cardio edge is going to full Hamza. He's going to fuck him up. Grasso is such a bad motherfucker. Give her the female BMF belt in the trilogy. Alexa will put a nail in Val's coffin. I have a crush on Alexa. I ain't gonna lie, me too. But it would be weird have a girlfriend that can kick your ass. I mean, I wouldn't mind that because my ego isn't too big. You know, I mean, if I was dating a female fighter, a professional female fighter, I wouldn't mind that. Obviously, as the man in the relationship, you want to be able to protect your partner. But I mean, if your partner is capable of protecting you, or you both can defend each other, if you both can defend yourselves, that's great. Kolstrom asked, Ank versus Hill, who would you pick? That's a tough one. I'm gonna go with Jamal Hill though, because I think Jamal Hill on the feet, he's got the height, he's got the range. Both guys have really good boxing, but I think Hill has slightly better hands. He's got a power advantage. Magomed can be hit, and he got dropped by Thiago Santos. And I think Jamal Hill had a better performance over Santos. He finished Santos. And then look what he did to Glover Teixeira, the way he went out there and defended every single takedown of Glover. Magomed doesn't really wrestle that much in his fights, other than the Jan Blachowicz fight. He mainly prefers to strike. And he didn't wrestle against Jan until he started losing on the feet. Now, maybe against Hill, he might work on using his strikes to set up his takedowns, which could help. But ultimately, I think Hill could defend the takedowns. And if they stay standing, Hill might eventually catch him within 5 rounds. So I'm going to say Jamal wins a competitive fight, but gets Ankalaev out of there in the late rounds. But I wouldn't mind Ankalaev's chances, though. Ankalaev could definitely win. He's the more well-rounded fighter, and Ankalaev's skills are really good. Like, I rate Ankalaev. But slight edge I would give to Jamal. All my friends said Val won, but I think Alexa won. But round 5 won't know 10-8 for me. Yeah, it wasn't a 10-8 round, but I think Alexa Grasso, like round 4 could have went either way. But here's where Grasso fucked up. This is a low IQ mistake. So she suplexes Valentina. What does she do? And what could she have done? She jumps over the back trying to get a fucking armbar. Like, what are you doing? Hold position. If she had just went position over submission, she could have controlled Valentina on the ground, like the 5th round, and secured round 4 more convincingly, got a 10-9 in the 4th. Then Michael Bell wouldn't have to... Was it Michael Bell? He wouldn't have to make round 5 a 10-8 to make up for the mistake he made in the 4th with the scoring. So, but yeah, I had Grasso winning 2, 4, and 5. But that was a frustrating fight to watch, man, because Grasso's takedown defense wasn't any better next time like I thought it would be. Grasso or Val had more success in the striking. I saw Grasso get hit more than I want her to get hit, get taken down more than I want her to get taken down. Grasso fucking knocked her down, and I'm like, yes, this is where Alexa Grasso's going to knock her out, get her out of there early. Then Valentina just comes back and takes her down. And then round 3, Valentina Shevchenko then gets another takedown and almost submits Alexa Grasso twice, guillotine, rear naked choke. And it looks like Valentina is going to start rallying to a decision. But luckily, Grasso kind of got back momentum in the 4th and really sealed it in the 5th round. Because if not for the suplex in round 4, and if not for Val going for the bad takedown and Grasso ending up on top, Grasso's probably losing that fight 4-1, 48-47, 49-46, which would have been really bad. But now going forward in the trilogy, it's a new fight. There's a lot to take away. I mean, now both Valentina Shevchenko and Grasso have so much experience against each other. They know each other so freaking well. But I still think Grasso, I said this last time, I still think she has the edge as the younger fighter. You know, I think she's going to learn from those mistakes from the first two fights. And I think this is going to be the one where she's going to have the best performance against Val that she's ever had. Now, I'm not going to be shocked if Val wins. And if Grasso does not up her freaking takedown defense, she's not winning. You can forget it. But if she improves in that area and does some offensive wrestling of her own, because she showed she could take Valentina down and get the better of the ground positions, she's going to win. And she could definitely finish Valentina. You know, she already dropped her ass. So I'm going with Grasso in the trilogy to close it off. And I think this will be the official passing of the torch. Costa ain't going to show up. He'll pull out. Who knows? I mean, Paulo Costa, I mean, his reasoning for pulling out was legit because he had an elbow injury. You know, had he not been injured, he would have shown up. So, you know, if they reschedule Khamzat versus Paulo, I mean, that's the fight that Paulo really wants. He's definitely going to show up this time. But yeah, his reasonings to duck Jerry Cannonier in 2021 and to duck Whitaker and Ikram were bullshit because with Cannonier, he pulled out because he was getting hair plugs because his hairline was receding, which was dumb. He could have just took the fight with Cannonier and then fixed his declining hairline later. And then the fight with Whitaker, that fight, I remember they booked that matchup for UFC 284 in Perth, Australia. Was it in Perth? They booked that fight. I remember they had like the poster out for that matchup. The UFC's page posted it on Instagram. Robert was training, doing interviews, and then Paulo, like in December, said, "Oh, someone please tell this guy I'm not fighting Robert Whitaker. I'm not fighting because I want more pay." So he literally ducked Robert Whitaker for the sake of wanting more money. He was holding out to get a paycheck, and he didn't train and just didn't show up, and he bailed out, you know, despite agreeing to the fight. Although Paulo did say he didn't agree to it, he just said the UFC just announced it without his knowing, and the UFC does do that sometimes. But then with Ikram Aliskerov, it was the same thing. He didn't train and said, "I'm not showing up," and he just didn't show up, which is fucking annoying. But I thought, okay, you know what? He's doing it for the right reasons because he's saving himself for that fight with Khamzat. But then he pulls out of that too. So it's like, what the hell was the point? So I know it's definitely going to be hard to trust Paulo. But if Rockhold versus Costa happened, anything's possible because we know both those guys are pullout merchants, but both showed up to the octagon. So I'm sure Paulo will fight again. The UFC is going to give him another chance. And let's hope this guy can get active again. Younger, faster, stronger. Irene went from main event to prelims. I know, that's so sad. The disrespect is real, man. Like, I get it. She lost to Amanda Nunes and she could have done better, but come on. That's like water under the bridge at this point. Amanda Nunes is gone, retired. That rematch is never going to happen. Irene would win if it would happen, but who gives a fuck? Irene's never going to get that back. So what? You know what I mean? It happens to the best of them. Everyone underperforms. That was a learning experience for Aldana, but people are acting like now Aldana's career is over. She's absolutely terrible. But I think Aldana is gonna flip the script and she's gonna rewrite this story. She's gonna smash Carol Rosa's face in, and she's gonna earn another title shot by next year. Just watch. Usman is gonna be Usman is good. Leon is the best. Leon gonna body kick TKO Colby. I promise that. Yeah, he could. I mean, Leon Edwards has some nasty body kicks, and Colby Covington is open to body shots, and he is sensitive to body shots too. Like, he does not like hits to the body. He does not like them body shots. And Leon is a good kicker, so I could definitely see that as well. And Leon would be smart to target the body, but he better be careful with his kicks because Colby Covington is a wrestler. And we know with wrestlers, they're good at catching kicks. And if Colby Covington can go out there, press forward, and keep Leon on the back foot, it's going to be hard for Leon to like properly set up those kicks. Wait, who is Duplessis going in as an underdog against? Chimaev can't breathe through one of his nostrils. That might contribute to his gassing. Okay, wow, he's got some Duplessis issues. Then he should just get nasal surgery, and then he'll be fine. Grasso versus Aaron. Like, are you asking who would win, or is that next? I mean, if Grasso wasn't injured, they could make that fight right now. Who would win? I think Aaron would win that fight because her wrestling is really good. Grasso's takedown defense is ass, unfortunately. It might be like she might be good enough to improve her takedown defense to stop Val's takedowns next time, but if in 2 fights with 2 chances, she still couldn't consistently defend Valentina Shevchenko's takedowns, she's not going to stop takedowns from a better wrestler than Valentina, like Aaron Blanchfield. So I think Blanchfield is going to be the one to end the Grasso reign. And hopefully it won't be Valentina. Ankalaev, luck is bad. I know, man. He should have been champion against Jan. That pissed me off so much. Those knees Alexa hit Val with were brutal. Reminded me of Pride FC. And I based off that, the knees and the suplex, that's why I give Grasso that round. Ankalaev kicks. Leon is going to make a statement. I could see it. I could see it, man. Leon is at the best stage of his career right now. I mean, he beat Usman twice, high on momentum. He's more active than Colby Covington lately, and his confidence is at an all-time high. And 2 consecutive camps for Usman. I think his defensive wrestling is going to be ready for Colby, but I just think Colby's pressure is different from Usman's, and he wrestles differently than Usman. So that's what makes the fight so interesting, and that's why I'm so excited for this fight. When Alexa dropped her, it was wild. Alexa has massive hands. She's got bricks for hands. I know she's got power, and I've been telling people keep saying, oh, Grasso has no power because she doesn't knock people out. She literally started her MMA career by knocking people out. When she came to the UFC, that's when she started getting less finishes, but she's capable, man. She can crack, and it showed when she dropped Val. Val would have won round 5. She was piecing her up until she went for the sloppy takedown. Well, I'm glad she did because I wasn't trying to see my baby lose that fight. So, and I mean, the only reason why she was piecing Grasso up was because of that takedown threat. How would Grasso versus Aaron go? Well, I just said that, but I think Grasso would do relatively good on the feet early. She'd establish that she's the better boxer. Aaron might try to feel out the range early, see where she can find the takedowns. And in the meantime, Grasso will redden up her face, land. But then Aaron Blanchfield is going to double leg her, and Alexa Grasso will not be able to stop it. She won't be able to get up. But I think Grasso might be able to survive the first round on the ground potentially and just hold on and maybe full guard, close the posture, but lose the round by being on bottom. But then round 2, man, I feel like that might be the round where Aaron might finish her. And I mean, we saw Valentina Shevchenko literally have her neck in the guillotine. I think if Aaron had her in that position, she would finish it. Grasso would really have to be careful when trying to get back to her feet against Aaron because Aaron is very good at capitalizing on those little slight openings she sees. If Val could find an opening like that, imagine Aaron. But at the same time, I could kind of see Alexa putting up a good fight. I mean, she is the champion. She right now is the best flyweight in the world. I don't care what anyone says. She's the woman to beat right now at 125. So she might not go out that easy, but I think the matchup style-wise just favors Blanchfield to win. But I do think Grasso would she'd get off some good punches, though. Um, Chimaev Costa rebook. Yeah, I mean that makes the most sense. That makes the most sense. I agree. I don't think he's earned a title shot. Beat Paulo Costa, settle that beef, and once he beats Paulo, which I was gonna predict him to do, after this, I'm kind of having second thoughts though. I mean, he might still beat Costa, but it's gonna be a tough fight. But if he can win that fight, get one more test at middleweight against an actual middleweight on a full camp, a ranked top fiver, and he beats him, then give him the title shot. Grasso gets subbed by Aaron, but maybe she would have to survive and eat big shots from Alexa. Yeah, I can see it. Just like when she fought Tyler Santos, because Tyler was landing some bombs on Aaron, but Aaron's got a chin on her. But unfortunately, man, Grasso will not have like the size, the physicality, strength, and take down the fence that Tyler Santos had. But Grasso, she's got that Mexican cardio, man. Like something about these Mexican fighters, like genetically, they're really tough, and they got cardio for days. So if Grasso's take down the fence holds up like Tyler, she's not going to gas out, and she can definitely keep up a good pace against Aaron. When Alexa dropped her, what a feeling! Yeah, that was crazy. I remember like I literally stood up from my seat. I was like, yes! And like my mom was like, you shot up like a rocket, which I did. I was like standing up, anxiously awaiting for Alexa to finish her when she was like pounding her against the cage. But then when they separated and Val took her down, I was like, fuck, man. There goes the finish. And then Grasso lost momentum in round 3 when she almost got finished herself. Ikram is a beast. He needs a top 10 opponent. I agree. I mean, Ikram Aliskerov could probably fight Roman Dolidze because Jared Cannonier just pulled out, so he could take that fight. Maybe try to reschedule the Paulo Costa fight. I picked Ikram to beat Paulo, by the way, before Paulo weaseled his way out. And I still think he would beat Costa. I do. I think he's a way more talented striker. He takes his career more seriously, and I think he picks Paulo apart. Is that facts about Chimaev? What's facts about Chimaev? When's Rose digging? Or when is she fighting? I guess it just depends on the status of her hand. I mean, Rose usually always takes time off between losses. But she is motivated to resume her career and she wants to resume at women's flyweight. So who knows? I could see her coming back in the spring. I'm not really sure like who would be like a good opponent for her. I was kind of thinking Rose should like fight Macy Barber because I remember Barber was like calling her out like in 2019, and now that fight it makes sense now more than ever. Like Rose could fight her, she could fight Reba, she could fight Araujo, but I say fight Barber. You know, settle that beef with Barber. Barber has literally beaten every woman from Rose's team. You know what I mean? She's beaten all of Rose's female teammates, like Aldrich and then some other girls. Like I remember Barber posted this picture where it's like she was circling all the heads of the women. Like there was a group photo with Rose with other women where like Macy Barber, she like circled all the heads of the women she beat and then put a target on Rose's face saying soon. So 4 years later, 5 years later, they could put that matchup together and I would love to see it. Rose could get one back for the team. I think she beats Macy Barber and then she could, get herself in the rankings at women's flyweight. And then after that, fight Caitlin Chukagian. I think that would be a good matchup for herself. I think she's good enough to beat someone like Caitlin Chukagian. Rose just has to take it step by step at women's flyweight. She needs to take the right matchups at the right time. I don't want her to rush back in there against, Aaron or Santos. Those are fights she definitely wouldn't win. Leon is in his prime, definitely. Islam and Leon hitting the pads is wild. Their kicks are so strong. They just break everything in their path. Oh yeah, for sure. And they train together, and that might be a potential fight in the future. And I think Islam, if he moves up to welterweight and fights Leon, he has a great chance of winning that fight. Islam knocked out Volk and ended his prime, and that's one point I need to get to in this live because it's part of the title. I said Volkanovski's potential fall from grace. As sad as it is to say, I think Volkanovski's downfall begins now. And Islam did end his prime. I know we hadn't seen Volk come back yet, but Volkanovski's 35 years old. He got knocked out brutally. And the thing is about that, when you're 35 years old and you get knocked out like that, those losses are very hard to just bounce back from at the age of 35. I mean, look at Usman. He came back, lost again to Leon. Tony Ferguson. He didn't get knocked out by Gaethje, but still, it was a TKO. He took a beating. He wasn't the same after. I mean, Frankie, after his first knockout loss, wasn't the same. And I know Volkanovski has that greatness factor, but here's what I think is going to contribute to his downfall is his ego, his pride. Like Volkanovski is too tough for his own good. And he wants to fight again in January against Ilya. He doesn't want to take time off. And he's saying for the UFC to keep him busy. And Alexander Volkanovski says that when he's not fighting, when he's not active, he gets depressed. It drives him crazy. And I think Volkanovski, what he has to do is he needs to just swallow his pride, do not fight in January, take the time he needs to not just physically recover. I think he needs like a sports coach, like a sports psychologist to just help him mentally get that one part sorted out to where he doesn't help him overcome the mental demons of feeling like he has to fight. You know what I mean? Just take his time, just enjoy life. He's got a beautiful family, he's got a bunch of daughters and a wife, he just had a newborn. Take time to enjoy his family, enjoy Christmas, and just heal. And if he does that, I like his odds against Ilia Topuria. But if he fights Ilia in January, he's gonna get knocked the fuck out again. It's gonna happen. And you know what? If Ilia Topuria versus Volkanovski happened in January, but without this Islam fight and knockout loss happening in between, I was gonna pick Volkanovski to win that fight while giving Ilia a good chance. I was going to say going in, you know what? I think Volk's going to be too good. He's got momentum right now. I mean, he lost to Islam earlier in the year, but it was a close fight. You could argue he won. His stock went up from that fight. And then he smashed Yair Rodriguez. He's brimming with confidence. And he's had a full camp for a guy like Ilya. You know what I mean? But now I think the trajectory has changed because now that Volkanovski has lost twice this year and just recently got knocked out, Volk no longer has that aura of invincibility. I think he's lost that fear factor. Ilya was already confident in his ability to beat a guy like Volkanovski. Imagine him now. Seeing Volk get dusted by Islam is only going to make Ilya even more confident. Like, hey, this guy just knocked him out. I can knock him out too. I got power. If I can connect, I can definitely finish him. And Topuria, he's been studying Volkanovski for years, scouting him out. Like, I think he knows Volkanovski's game really well. And usually situations like these where like the younger fighter has been studying a dominant force for years, usually in this situation, the younger fighter always wins. So if Volkanovski fights again in January against Ilia Topuria, the young, hungry, dangerous contender who style-wise matches up well with Volk, it's just not going to end well. He's going to lose 2 fights in a row by knockout. And then they're going to rematch, and then Ilya's just going to beat Volkanovski again. And then we're going to look at Volkanovski literally on a 3-fight losing streak. Volk is not going to be the same guy if he turns around early next year against a dangerous man like Topuria. I don't think Volk's going to come in this fight as confident, like he's going to come in knowing, okay, I just got knocked out. Ilya hits hard. I got to be a bit careful. He's not going to feel invincible. anymore. He's not going to feel on top of the world anymore. I know Volkanovski's a mentally strong man, but he's human at the end of the day. So he's not going to come in this fight with momentum and confidence like Ilia Topuria would. And Ilia Topuria is well-rounded enough to deal with Volkanovski everywhere. Volkanovski doesn't have a clear path to victory of out-grappling Ilia like he was able to do to Yair, because Topuria is good on the ground. I don't think Volk wants to mess with the ground game with Ilia. Ilia has good wrestling. He can defend the takedowns. It's going to come down to the striking. And I think in terms of the boxing, I think Ilia Topuria is a better boxer than Volk. Like, Volk overall is a better striker, better kickboxer. But if you put those two in a boxing ring and just a boxing match, Ilia wins. Ilia holds the advantage in boxing range, in close quarters. He's got that power edge. And with Ilia matching Volk's height, being a short guy, getting close to Volk's not going to be that hard. He can pressure Volk, get in range, and if they fight so soon, Volk's not going to have the chin to handle Ilia's power, and he's going to get knocked out inside a round again, or maybe the second round. We'll see. But it's just insane, though, how, like, Volkanovski, he literally went from being pound for pound, number one, greatest fighter of all time. That status is out the window now. It's done. He's no longer the pound for pound best. He's one of them, but you can no longer say he's the greatest fighter of all time. You know, when he lost to Islam the first time by close decision, he kept his pound for pound spot, you know, because with politics and stuff, you know, the UFC, they wanted Volkanovski to win. They thought he won. So Volk got to keep his ranking at number one because he didn't truly lose that fight on paper, right? You know, he got to hold on to that close fight with Islam. His stock went up tremendously. He went back to featherweight, defended his belt again with pure ease. He was still regarded as the best thing ever, but then he rematches Islam. He gets beat more decisively. Now he's no longer going to be the pound for pound best guy out there. He's the best featherweight, not the best fighter ever. Now that spot's going to belong to Islam when John Jones retires. Islam's going to be pound for pound number one real soon. I'm worried about Volk. Yeah, me too. Ilya is big punch. He's going to knock Volk out. He's going to retire Volkanovski. Volkanovski's not going to retire. No, he's too prideful. He's going to want the rematch as a competitor, and he's not going to win the rematch with Ilya, of course. He'll lose to him again. Ilya's going to beat him twice next year, and I'm going to predict that Alexander Volkanovski is going to have a bad 2024, which is insane. I mean, it's crazy how the sport can change so quickly. Like, one day a fighter can be on top of the world. It can be the best thing since sliced bread. It could be the second coming of Jesus Christ. The highest highs, then one moment they lose, and it's all over for them. I mean, look at Kamaru Usman. Usman was where Volkanovski was before the Islam losses. Now Usman is like on a 3-fight losing streak. He has not won a fight since 2021. It's going to be 2024 soon. So, and Usman also lost that pound for pound great status. Volk may never be the same. Yeah, I mean, look, if Alexander Volkanovski swallows his pride, waits till like maybe spring to come back and fight Ilya, then I mean, I might still favor Topuria to win, but I'm not going to be as confident, and I think Volk's odds will be better. If Volk can mentally get right, if he just takes time to just kind of make adjustments in his game and his mindset and recover his brain, he could beat Ilya, because we know how good Volkanovski is. Best guy in the featherweight division, best guy Ilya's ever fought. But if he just comes back so soon, like, oh, just get back in there right away, it's just not going to end well. It's not going to end well. And Volkanovski's downfall, that's going to be the beginning of his downfall. As sad as it is to say. Aaron versus Fowl. Are you asking who wins that fight, or is that the fight to make? Who wins? I'm picking Aaron to win that fight. Aaron's going to be champion. It's inevitable. You know, I predicted Alexa Grasso to be champion to end Valentina's reign. And I predict that whoever wins the trilogy, they're kind of keeping that belt warm for Aaron. Adesanya Chimaev, that fight's not happening because Israel is practically retired right now. He's not going to fight for a while, and Chimaev's going to fight for the belt next. Volk got fucked up. Yeah, he got fucked up bad. And that's true. Islam definitely hits really hard. He hits really hard. I mean, his power is so underestimated because so many people are focused on like how good he is of a grappler. They forget this guy's got hands. He can knock you out. His kicks are good too. And it's kind of funny how like the first time a lot of people predicted that Islam was going to head kick KO Volk, and it happened the second time around. That's insane. And also I saw a comment earlier, Mason. I forgot to address this. You said Islam is better than Khabib. Honestly, I can't argue against that. I mean, Khabib is Khabib. He's great, but I mean, Makhachev has fought better competition than Khabib. Makhachev has fought stylistically harder fights than Khabib, and he's overcame them. Like Khabib just fought strikers who have no ground game, like Gaethje and Poirier. I mean, Poirier has a ground game, but Poirier's not good off his back. He's not good off his back. Gaethje, Connor, not good off their backs. Ally Quinta, not good off his back. Barboza, not a ground fighter. Khabib never fought Tony Ferguson in his prime, who was the only guy back then who I believe could take Khabib on the ground. Khabib never fought Charles Oliveira. And I think he beat Charles Oliveira still. Charles Oliveira stylistically has a good shot at beating a guy like Khabib, given that he's a good striker with power, and he's better on the ground than a prime Tony Ferguson was. Charles Oliveira was supposed to like be the ultimate test that was going to maybe be the guy to beat Islam, and Islam smoked him. You know what I mean? And then Alexander Volkanovski, another challenge, because Volkanovski, a short, stocky, powerful wrestler, good takedown defense, really good stand-up, heavy hands, great cardio. Volkanovski was a nightmare matchup for a guy like Islam. Charles and Volkanovski, especially Volk. And the Volk we saw at UFC 284, that was Volkanovski at his best. And had Volk fought anyone else that night in the lightweight division, I think that Volk gets his hand raised. If he would have fought Charles, I mean, it's possible Charles could have knocked him out. He beats Charles Oliveira for the lightweight belt. Had Charles Oliveira beat Islam at UFC 280, he loses the belt to Volkanovski at 284. If he fought Dustin, I mean, Poirier could probably finish him, but I think he would beat Poirier, he'd beat Gaethje, but Islam is just him. You know, and because Islam is that good and who he is, that's why Volk could never be a two-division champion. And the fact that Islam's going out there beating Charles, beating Volk twice, you know, compared to who Khabib has fought, his resume is more impressive. And to touch on him being better, Islam Makhachev has better striking than Khabib. Like, Khabib can strike, don't get me wrong, but Islam hits harder than Khabib. His boxing's better than Khabib. His kicks are better than Khabib. Both guys have good defense, but Islam has better defense. I think Khabib, his style is just more pressure based. You know, he's got a good chin and he can walk you down. He can take your shots and then he'll flying knee you, and then he'll get inside and he'll get a hold of you and get you down. But Islam Makhachev has an ability to, if he can't take you down, he can outstrike you. He's good off the back foot. He can catch you coming in, you know, if his takedowns don't work. And yeah, I don't think Khabib is head kick KOing Volkanovski. Izzy Drickus, UFC 300. Nah, Izzy's taking time off. Izzy is taking time off, so that's not going to happen. It could have, though, if Izzy wants to come back soon. That definitely could have been the fight to make, but nah. EA Sports 5 cover curse struck again. It did. It did, man. That shit is real. I'm just mad that curse didn't make Val lose. She just got a draw. Like, come on, man. But everyone else lost. Like Adesanya got bitched by Strickland. And then Volkanovski got knocked out by Islam. So yeah, I mean, everyone who's been on the cover except for John Jones has lost. Ronda lost when being on that cover. Connor lost. Um, and then who else? Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson and Connor were both on the cover for UFC EA Sports 3. Both ended up losing, you know, Mighty Mouse losing to Cejudo, Connor losing to Khabib. Like that cover is dangerous. Like at first I was saying, nah, Alexa Grasso should be on the cover of EA UFC 5, but honestly, I'm glad she wasn't. Volk and Usman went from numero uno, and then one head kick later, they both nothing. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to see how Volk looks when he comes back. Like maybe Volkanovski could come back, turn all this around, continue dominating at featherweight, but I feel like his reign's gonna end next year. He's gonna lose. He's gonna lose the belt next year to Ilya Taporia, and I think we're gonna have a shakeup. You know, Volk's been champ long enough. And I just think Ilya's the one. I really feel like Ilya's the one, and he's gonna send Volk on a losing streak. You know, he's gonna have losses to Islam and Ilya twice. Um, let's see. Volk is done mentally. Yeah, Lucas Tracy is right. Lucas Tracy, shout out to him, rightly said about Volk being too stubborn in his videos. Problems with every champion. Yeah, like Volkanovski's iron will at this point is starting to work against him, you know? I am surprised how this guy survived against Yair with the weakness of head kicks. Bro, same thing, man. Same freaking thing. Like, Yair's like the head kick specialist. Volkanovski was like carelessly defending the head kicks, like blocking with one hand. Some of the head kicks even landed, and Volkanovski took them just fine, you know? Like, I don't know, maybe he just didn't land right. I don't know, but this sport is just weird like that. Maybe Yair just didn't properly set it up. Like, who knows? I think Yair worrying about the takedowns kind of didn't allow him to properly set up a good flush head kick. I think every head kick, every kick he was throwing was just a naked kick with no setup. You know what I mean? Like, because if he would go to the body, Volk could catch the body kick. You know what I mean? I mean, he landed some good leg kicks on Volk, though. I'll give him that. But I feel like nothing was properly set up because Volk was pressuring and had the threat of the takedowns and also softened him up on the ground. So that probably made Yair a little less dangerous in the stand up. Khabib never can strike like Islam. Definitely not. Islam is the best in the world. He is. He is. And he's unstoppable. Like I said in this title, Islam Makhachev is unstoppable. I said if he beats Volkanovski, no one is going to beat him. I said it about the first fight. Then after the first fight, I said, okay, Islam will smoke his next opponent if it's not Alex. But he smoked Alex anyway. Um, but I thought he's going to fight another contender and he's going to remind everybody just how good he is. Hold on, I'm gonna be right back. One sec. All right, I'm back, guys. Sorry, I had to do something. Where was I? I was talking about Islam being unstoppable. Yeah, I said that if he can get through that first Volk fight, then his reign as champ is secured because I can't see anyone else beating him. Although I was worried about a Volk rematch. The rematch happened. I said the same thing. I said that if he can beat Volkanovski again, then he's safe. I don't have to worry about him losing that title, and he's not going to. And you know what? It's funny because I actually gave Charles Oliveira a good chance to win the rematch with Islam. I wasn't gonna pick him to win, but going in, I'm like, you know what? Uh, I said, you know what? Oliveira, if he comes back, gets mentally right, makes some good tactical adjustments, then he could definitely beat a guy like Islam Makhachev. But after seeing what Islam did to Volkanovski, man, yeah, Charles Oliveira would have got finished again early against Islam. And I think if they reschedule that rematch, that's going to be my pick. Islam's going to beat Charles Oliveira again. So he's going to have 2 wins over Volk and Charles on his resume. And I'm just glad that people are finally giving Islam the respect that this guy deserves. He's finally getting the respect uh, as a champion. Hey, man. Yeah, he's finally getting the respect he deserves as a champion because before the Charles fight, he didn't get much respect. After he crushed Charles Oliveira, people for some reason were still undermining him. And then he had the close fight with Volk, and people were like, oh, he robbed Volkanovski. Oh, Volk's a real lightweight champion. Islam still isn't all that. So I'm glad Islam came back and knocked Volkanovski. Yeah, I respect Volk, and I felt bad for him when he got knocked out, but I was so happy when Islam knocked him out. Not because of Volk, but because of the fans, because of the disrespect Islam was getting. At Islam, I felt like he really needed that win to really cement his legacy. And I think whoever he fights next between Justin Gaethje and Oliveira, he wins. And after that, I think after a third title defense, I mean, he could do it right now, but after a third title defense, he's earned the right to want to move up to welterweight and challenge for champ status. He's a big lightweight. I know in welterweight he may not have like the same physical advantages, but his skills are still going to be there. I think he has a good chance against Colby. Definitely has a good chance against Leon Edwards, 100%. But even if Islam Makhachev like fails to be a champ, his legacy is already cemented in the lightweight division. Like he can just move back down and continue being great at lightweight because who's going to stop him? I mean, Islam can literally strike with anybody in that division. He can knock anyone out in that division. He can out wrestle anyone in that division. He's got multiple ways to beat anyone in that division. His IQ is like second to none. So I think Islam, he's gonna hold that belt for like another 2 years. Like I think by 2025, Makachev is still gonna be the champion. I predict he's gonna have like a 3.5, 4 year title reign, and then he might vacate the belt to like full-time pursue welterweight if the weight cuts get harder. Or who knows, maybe eventually someone might come along that might be like the right match to beat him. And you know what I could see happening? It might be too soon to say, but what if Arman Saryukian works his way up to a title shot and Islam is still the champion? Armin's young and he's going to keep improving. I think Arman Saryukian is a really good style against Islam Makhachev. And maybe an improved Arman Saryukian in a rematch down the line might be the one to dethrone Islam Makhachev. It might be kind of like how Kamaru Usman beat Leon, and then they had the rematch for the title. Leon was the one to end his reign and win streak. Maybe that will be the same story with Arman and Islam. But other than that, I really don't see who can beat a guy like Islam. It might just take like a new generational fighter to get it done. Not any of these current top guys. The attitude, Volk's shiny bald head got kicked off. This attitude of Volk was good when he was in his prime, but at this point in his career, yeah, I know, man. Like Volk, again, he needs a mental coach, and he's got to swallow his pride. He's gotta let go of that ego, that tough guy ego. Like, I back myself up every time, I stand up for myself. He needs to chill with that. He needs to chill. He needs to chill. The headbutt on the Yair fight diminish him a lot. Uh Not Yo saying. Yeah, honestly, I think the headbutt is why Yair Rodriguez got TKO'd. I mean, Volkanovski was going to win that fight either way, but that head kick softened up Yair's chin, and then the next shot he got hit by just rocked him badly. Whereas without that headbutt, Yair wouldn't have been concussed. He would have ate that punch, and I think Yair would have got a 10-9 third round. So he would have won the third round, but then Volkanovski would have went back to his wrestling in the fourth and fifth and won the fight by decision. That was my prediction too. I predicted Volkanovski would win the fight by decision, 4 rounds to 1, actually. Like I said, Yair might win 1 round in the striking, but overall, Volk would control the fight with his wrestling. Man, what a guy Islam is, bro. Wow, I'm amazed from the hating on him now. Just think how great he is. Yeah, I don't get why people hate Islam Makhachev. Islam has proved time and time again he's not a boring fighter. Okay, he's exciting. He's a finisher. He's active. You know what I mean? And unlike Khabib, Islam Makhachev is willing to take more risks in his career. Do you not notice that? Islam is taking tougher challenges than Nurmagomedov, and Islam Makhachev, he's also what was I gonna say? He's willing to go up to the welterweight division and take bigger, more challenging matchups up a division, and he gets hate for that. I don't understand that. I don't get it. People are such hypocrites, and this just goes to show that people will just find any excuse to hate on a fighter that's Dagestani. You know what I mean? If Islam wasn't Dagestani, people wouldn't have a problem with it, Because think about it. Not Alexander, what am I talking about? Khabib never wanted to go up and risk his undefeated record by fighting in the welterweight division. He never wanted to challenge for a second belt. He just wants to stay in the lightweight division, which fair play to him. He can do what he wants, but he wasn't willing to do that. And people were giving Khabib crap for not wanting to go up a division. People were annoyed by this. Before Khabib was champion, they want him to go up. When Khabib was champion, they want him to go up. Before Khabib even defended his belt once, they wanted him to go up. And then when he defended against Conor, they were saying he should go up. Then when he had his second defense against Dustin, they said he should go up. But when Islam Makhachev, after one title defense, says, I want to go up and fight the winner of Leon and Colby, everyone gets their panties in a bunch and they're saying, oh, he hasn't earned the right to want to do that. And I'm like, where was this energy with Khabib? Why can't people be grateful that Islam, the weight bully, wants to go up and weight? People should be happy. People should be applauding Islam Makhachev right now. Especially that he just finished Volkanovski. He finished Charles. He beat Volkanovski twice. That is enough for him to want to earn the right to go up and weight and challenge for the belt. And he's willing to take risks. And Islam Makhachev didn't have to take the Volkanovski fight to begin with. That was a hard fight for himself. He could have said, no, I want to fight another lightweight contender, but Neil deserves a title shot. But he said, no, I'm going to pick out the hardest fight for myself for my first defense. I want the pound for pound great Alexander Volkanovski. He went tooth and nail with him for 5 freaking rounds. It was a close fight. Could have gone either way, but he got it done. And then he was willing to do the rematch. He wasn't scared. And even on short notice, he's like, yeah, I'm going to risk losing my belt to my stylistic kryptonite. I'm going to take this fight. He took that fight and he ended Volkanovski. So Islam deserves respect, and he's gonna keep the division busy. Islam Makhachev is not an inactive fighter. Khabib was inactive. Islam is active. I predict that Islam's gonna fight again probably in like February, March, April, maybe, which is a fair schedule. And then he'll take a bit of time off and then fight again in October next year in Abu Dhabi. Bruh, now I can't even think in dream. I can't think or dream of anyone beating Islam at lightweight. Me neither. Like before, like when Islam was coming off that close fight with Volkanovski and he looked humanized. I kind of felt more confident in other people's chances against Islam. I thought, man, Beneil has a chance. Charles has a chance in a rematch. I was scared for Islam if he would have fought Gaethje coming off the first Volk fight. But then after seeing him crush Volk like that, I'm like, nah, never mind. Charles ain't got a chance in hell. Justin ain't got a chance in hell. You know what I mean? Beneil would have got knocked out by Islam Makhachev, of course. Like, no one's beating Islam. And even Justin Gaethje changed his tone. He went from saying that, Islam's not Khabib, I can beat Islam, to then saying, actually, I got a mountain to climb against Islam. Maybe he is Khabib. He's not Khabib. He's better than Khabib. Islam is the definition of an MMA fighter. Oh, for sure. With how complete he is, absolutely. The only MMA fighter similar to Islam is Jones and GSP. I mean, I think John Jones and George are a little greater than Islam. I don't think it's fair to compare Islam to those guys yet, but I mean, he is definitely a well-rounded, dangerous guy who's good everywhere. He will hold it until Usman signs. Usman or Magomedov. I mean, will they fight though? I think they're friends. Don't they train together? So that fight might not even happen. I don't even know if Usman or Magomedov's going to go to the UFC. And if he does, by that time, I don't know. Islam could vacate the belt. Armin said, give me 8 weeks. I will smash this guy. Again, he said about Islam Makhachev. Imagine Islam becomes champ and we get to see him fight Prime Shavkat. That's crazy. You mean like champ at welterweight? I mean, that would actually be an insane fight. If he becomes champ at 170 and fights Shavkat, imagine. Armin beats Islam. I don't think so, but I mean, both guys have massively improved since the first fight. Armin Tsarukyan, he matches the physicality, the strength of Islam. He's got the takedown defense to deal with Islam. But I think in terms of striking, Islam can strike Armin. He can outstrike Armin. Armin's been hurt on the feet before. He got hurt on the feet against this Can. And I think Islam could definitely finish the job this time because he's shown that even if you can defend takedowns even if you can defend takedowns of Islam, he can take you on the feet, you know? Only guy I see beating Islam is Unshul Jubilee. Who's that guy? Let me look this dude up. Unshul. Isn't this dude 7-1 though? What makes you think he would beat Islam? Okay, you're joking. Khabib versus Islam. That would be a good fight. I mean, they're brothers. They'd never fight, but that would be really interesting. I think the wrestling cancels each other out. And if that's the case, Islam probably outstrikes him then. But I think it's really close. Islam should move up after fighting Gaethje. I just want to see Gaethje get his last shot at gold. Oh yeah, I mean he's earned it with that win over Dustin, but he's competing with Oliveira to get that title shot. Maybe have Oliveira and Gaethje run it back to decide who fights Islam. Then they can settle it that way. What if Islam moves up and then Usman comes to reign the lightweight Dagestani dominance over? That'll be crazy, man. having Khabib and then Islam and then Usman Nurmagomedov, that would be insane. Yeah, I know you were joking. Once I saw his record, I was like, this guy is 7-1, just lost his last fight. Yeah, no chance. Okay, let's see. Do you see anyone giving trouble to Islam at welterweight? Oh, a ton of people will give him trouble at welterweight for sure. A ton of people, because at welterweight he's not going to have the same physical advantages. A lot of guys are going to be harder to take down. A lot of guys in there can outstrike him. I think at welterweight, I think Leon Edwards, he could beat him for sure, but that one's not easy. The Usman fight, I'm not even going to mention that one because Usman doesn't know what weight class he wants to compete in. He might be done at welterweight, and him and Usman are friends. But Colby Covington would be a tough fight because Colby, big, good wrestling. He matches the wrestling of Islam. Both guys are good on the feet. Colby might have the cardio edge, so that's a pretty tough, even fight. But I think Islam could get it done. I think Bilal Muhammad, that's an even harder fight for Islam because Bilal is so hard to take down, and his striking is really good too. And he could outstrike him. Gilbert Burns, I'm most confident that he beats Stephen Thompson at welterweight. Honestly, Islam at welterweight might not do that good, but I wouldn't count him out. And I nonetheless, regardless of how he does at welterweight, I still give him props for wanting to challenge himself. Dare to be great, as Israel Adesanya would say. I think that if Islam gets to fight Leon, he has the potential. It has the potential to be a great stand up fight. That would be interesting. And I think isn't Islam like southpaw too? And I know Leon does struggle with southpaws, so that would be interesting for sure. I mean, I would say Leon would win on the feet though. Islam would really have to. He'd have to really wrestle to win that fight. But man, it's crazy to think that Ilya Taporia might be champion in the next few months. And Ilya Taporia, man, his birthday, I think, is on the same day as UFC 297, bro. The stars might be aligning, man. It might be destined to be. And Georgia hasn't had a UFC champ yet. I think they're gonna get there first. I think they're gonna book that fight. And yep, I think Ilya's winning. And Ilya's going to be the one to beat Volkanovski. I've already kind of explained a stylistic standpoint as to why, but I mean, Volk has fought so many stylistically favorable guys for himself. And the featherweight division is kind of already weak, it's not that good. I mean, Brian Ortega, I mean, okay, Max Holloway, Volk is just sort of tailor made to beat a guy like that. And Volk already has his style figured out, and stylistically, there's really not much that Max can do to Volkanovski because Volk matches the cardio of Max. Volk matches Max's cardio. He's a better striker. He's a good, powerful counter puncher, and Max Holloway, because of that, cannot just go out there, unload his combos against Volk without being punished for it. And he is more well-rounded than Holloway. So that's why, even though, Max did beat him that one time, you know, Volk's better than him. Brian Ortega, with him, all he has is toughness and jujitsu and some decent striking. But when his jujitsu doesn't really work, I mean, he doesn't really have a plan B. I mean, he has a chin, he can take punches, but that's it. And like when he was unable to get the guillotine on Volk, he had nothing. He got folded. Zombie was old, washed. Yair Rodriguez, kind of a one-trick pony. He's just a Taekwondo master with a weakness in his defensive wrestling. Volk's the more well-rounded guy. He was able to capitalize on that. I think Topuria is going to be the best opponent that Volk's fought in a long time. I like Ilya's confidence. He's making a documentary named Road to Championship, which will release next year. Damn. And he's gonna beat Volk, and him winning the championship is gonna be featured on that if this documentary comes out after January. Man, if Volk jumps in Jan, man, Volk should also use his IQ. Sorry about that. I had a bit of hiccups. He should use his IQ outside the cage. He should, man. He should. But yeah, Ilya's gonna be the one. He's gonna be the one. Like, Volk has fought a lot of favorable matchups for himself, but this fight against Ilya, I think Ilya is a tough fight for him stylistically. I already mentioned the boxing, the power, similar stature. Ilya can get in boxing range, which will favor him. Ilya is well-rounded. I already mentioned all of that stuff. And like I said, he's been studying him for years. And I think this guy, if anyone right now, if everyone in the featherweight roster is going to beat Volk, it's Ilya El Matador Topuria. And you know what? People keep saying that Ilya and Max should fight for interim, which I think is kind of dumb. But I mean, hey, you know what? If Volk does take time off and they make Ilya fight Max, I don't mind the idea of Topuria beating Holloway. Like, he might. I mean, I think Holloway would win, but Ilya could beat Max. He's definitely a good style, against Max Holloway. He's similar to Volkanovski in the sense he's short, stocky, powerful, good boxer, good cardio. He's got the power to keep Holloway off of him. And I think if he just sticks with his combinations and doesn't let Max build up momentum, he could definitely beat Holloway. And maybe he could be the first guy to knock Max Holloway out. Like, we could see a Dricus du Plessis situation in the featherweight division where finally the second best outside the champion gets beat by a contender. And honestly, I would love that if Ilya could if he could like beat Max to earn a title shot at Volk. That would make the Volkanovski fight more exciting. And I think fans would take Ilya more seriously as a threat to Volkanovski as opposed to him just coming off a decision win over Josh Emmett. But also, one thing I want to say too is I don't like the way Volkanovski talks about Ilya. Like, I feel like he doesn't really know how good Ilya is, how dangerous Ilya is. He really doesn't know. And usually Volkanovski highly rates and respects his opponents. Everyone he talks, every opponent he talks about in like such high regards. You know what I mean? But he doesn't do that with Ilya. Like when he fought, Aldo, Mendez, Max Holloway 3 times, Brian Ortega, a washed Korean zombie Yair, he would praise how good and dangerous these guys are and how much of a threat these guys are to him. You know what I mean? But with Topuria, he kind of dismisses him as a threat. Like, oh, well, you know what? I don't see what you guys see in him. I'm seeing something in him that's making me confident that he's not the one. I can't wait to go out there and squash him. Like, with that mentality he has, that he might be in for a rude awakening, man. Like, I think that we're gonna see Ilya Topuria at his absolute best. He's gonna be the most confident he's ever been. Seeing Volk get knocked out, Volk's not gonna be the same. He's not gonna have the momentum. His aura of invincibility is shattered. That mystique is gone. And I think even though, yes, Ilya couldn't finish Josh, he showed he can go 5 rounds. He fought someone similar to Volkanovski, a short, stocky, powerful guy. Now he's fighting another short, stocky, powerful guy, a more skilled guy than Emmett, that is. But still, he got to get that 5-round experience. We know that Ilya can go 5 rounds without gassing. He can be disciplined for 5 rounds. He's good at sticking to a good game plan. And I really think that in this fight, Ilya is going to be super prepared. He's really going to step it up a level, and we're going to see a peak Ilya Topuria. So Volk better be ready. And also remember, Volk is underrating Ilya too much because you said you don't know how easy this fight is for me. Yeah, I just went over that. You're right. Great minds think alike. I do not like how he talks about Topuria. He needs to give Ilya his respect. He's got to stop disregarding him. Ilya is a threat. I don't care if he lacks the experience and doesn't have the strength of schedule of Volk. It does not matter. Ilya is a bad motherfucker. He deserves his respect. Ilya fighting Volk will. What do you mean? Him fighting Volk will increase his chances more to beat Volk? I don't know what you mean. Did he mean Max? Honestly, I don't think that will decrease his chances. Oh wait, you said Ilya fighting Max. I think you meant that will increase his chances more to beat Volk. I agree with that if that's what you mean. I'm really hoping that Volk takes his time to fight Ilya, not to take anything away from Topuria, but regardless of the result, this has potential to be a great war. Goku versus Vegeta, yeah, it's definitely going to be a good fight for sure. Yo, it's good, Brian Williams. And also, Ilya gets frustrated real quickly. Yeah, that's true. And I mean, Volkanovski could definitely get in Ilya's head because Volkanovski does like a lot of talking in the octagon, good at taunting you. Like when he was kicking Max's legs out in the first fight, he was taunting how his legs were hobbling. When he cut Max Holloway, he's like, that's bad. And, when he was piecing him up in the first round, the trilogy, he's like, I'm too fast for you, mate. I'm too fast for you. He was talking a lot against Islam. So, he could definitely, like, if he could provoke Ilya and like draw Ilya out of his element, he could definitely catch Ilya making a mistake. But I think if as long as Ilya just keeps his composure and discipline like he did against Emmett, even through the talking against Volk, then he can do this. Ilya fighting Max will make him so much better, and also Volk will keep getting older. Yes, that's what I just said. So one part of me does not oppose that fight, because think about it. I know Dricus isn't going to get a title shot now, but if he was ready to fight Israel Adesanya, or they would have tried to book that fight for a better time, Dricus du Plessis before the Robert Whittaker fight, people took him as a joke. No one took him seriously. People thought, oh, if he fights Izzy, that's an easy title defense for Adesanya. I mean, Adesanya would have beat his ass, but that's besides the point. But then he goes out there. He beats Robert Whittaker first. He beats the number one contender, the guy regarded as the second best outside of Izzy, basically the second champ. Knocks him out inside 2 rounds, dominates him, dominates the entire fight, wins the fight. Now everyone saw him as a threat. That made the Adesanya fight that never happened more exciting now. That fight looked even better. Even though it's not going to happen, I feel like sometimes these contenders, they need that one fight that's going to propel them to that next level. And I think Whittaker definitely pushed Dricus to the next level to increase his odds against Adesanya. Because if Dricus du Plessis would have just jumped straight from Brunson to Izzy, his chances of beating Adesanya would have been even slimmer than if, let's say, if he took his time. If let's say, sorry, where was I going with this again? I said that if my mind's going blank, but I said that if Dricus had just jumped straight from Brunson to Izzy, his chances would be less. But because he took that one more fight against Robert, that boosted his shot at beating a guy like Israel Adesanya. So I think it's the same thing for Topuria. That's what I meant to say. Sorry about that. No, I don't think Khamzat deserves a title shot. I think either give it to DDP or do Khamzat versus DDP. They could easily do that fight, but that's not going to happen. They're just going to go straight to giving Chimaev a title shot unless like it just depends on like the status of Khamzat's injury. Like if Khamzat Chimaev, if his wrist, if he needs like more time, and Sean's not willing to wait, they can easily book Dricus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland next. So who knows? Things could work in Sean or Dricus's favor down the line. Are we forgetting Sean Strickland got a title shot of beating unranked Abbas? Yeah, but he wasn't supposed to get the next title shot anyway. It was supposed to be Dricus du Plessis. Dricus deserved the next title shot. That was bullshit, you know? Dricus du Plessis earned the shot. He was the number one guy. He beat Whitaker. Whitaker versus du Plessis was a title eliminator to determine who fights Izzy. Sean only got it based off favorable circumstances. Dricus being injured, needing more time, and UFC 293 needing a main event. So Sean was supposed to like be a warm-up fight with Izzy to get to the Dricus fight. Although if Izzy would have beat Sean, I don't think he would have fought du Plessis because the plans would have remained the same. Dricus was going to get leapfrogged either way. So Izzy would have fought Chimaev. I've heard that Strickland had a good chance to beat Chimaev if he survives the first and second round. Do you think? Yeah, I think that. I do. He's more experienced. He's been 5 rounds more times. Chimaev's never gone past round 3. He never looks good in round 3. He's finished a lot of bums in the first round. I mean, you can't finish Usman in round 1. I don't know if he's going to smoke Strickland, the champion, inside a round or two. So he's got 2 rounds to get this done. And if it goes past round 2, Sean's winning this. Like, Chimaev needs to fix his cardio and he needs to fix his pacing too. Like he can't go too hard early in the fight against Strickland. Dricus told the UFC his foot was sore. Man, Dricus should have just took the fight, honestly. But yeah, it's unfortunate for him. But I don't like what the UFC did with UFC 293. I think the UFC should have made that fight in Vegas. Grasso versus Shevchenko too should have headlined that pay-per-view, or they should have got some other champion to headline that card. And Israel Adesanya could have fought Dricus du Plessis in December. I don't know why they had to rush that. So that's the UFC's fault with their timing. But you know what? Dricus also didn't have to take the Whitaker fight. I think Dricus should have not fought Whitaker in July and should have took the title fight that was offered, because actually they offered Dricus a title shot before they offered him Whitaker, but he said no, I want to stay busy and I want to beat Robert Whitaker. So that was his fault. Khamzat is hell in round 1. He could possibly submit Strickland. Yeah, and I heard he did submit him in like round 1. So I mean, he possibly could finish him early, but he better. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, Chimaev in round 1 is unstoppable. I mean, the way he went out there and dominated Usman in round 1 was insane. And it was also insane to like see Usman actually get out wrestled in a fight for the first time. That's never happened. Usman in every fight is always the better wrestler who dictates where the wrestling goes in the fight, whether he wants to take you down, defend takedowns. This time, Khamzat was in control of that. Usman had to worry about the takedowns. Usman could barely, he couldn't stop all the takedowns, couldn't get his own takedown, and got held down by Hamza. That was insane. So Usman definitely met his match in that regards. I mean, look, I'm not going to count out Khamzat Chimaev. You know what this situation kind of reminds me of a little bit? This gives me vibes of like Sean O'Malley. And Sean O'Malley had a similar record to Chimaev, obviously, with the exception of the one loss, but I think he had like 13 wins on his record. And then his 14th win was Peter Yan, I believe it was. If I'm not sure actually. No, I think isn't O'Malley 17-1? Never mind. So scratch that. But like still a technically undefeated fighter, beats the former champion coming off a razor close loss. Then everyone's counting out this guy's chances against the current champion. And then he goes out there, destroys Aljo. And now people are doubting Khamzat against Strickland. What if Khamzat just goes out there, wins, and becomes the middleweight champion? I could actually dead ass see that happening. So I'm not saying for sure that Chimaev would lose. I don't even have a pick for that fight. I'm going to hold that off for a while, but there's a great chance he could with how he looked in round 3. That's why I don't want him to fight. That's why I do not want him to fight Strickland now. I want him to fight one more guy at middleweight. But anyway, your take on Poatan versus Yuri. Oh boy. This is going to be the fight. I'm rooting heavily for Yuri Prochazka, but unfortunately, I think Alex Pereira is going to take that fight. Yuri Prochazka, he's had a lot of time off, and he's coming off a brutal shoulder injury. Pereira's been way more active, and, I know that Yuri has the overall MMA experience, but Alex has fought so many guys more experienced than him, like Strickland, Jan, Izzy. He's beaten all of them, and I just think he's a bad matchup as well. Like Yuri Prochazka's defense isn't that good. He gets very reckless on the feet. Alex Pereira is a more decorated striker. Both guys have big power, and both guys are capable of knocking each other out. But I feel like if anyone's going to be the guy to actually like hurt Yuri, but then actually finish him when hurting him, because he got hurt by Volk and Reyes. I think if Pereira can hurt him, I think he can get the finish. And plus, Alex has the leg kicks too. Those calf kicks that are hard to defend. They're not telegraphed. I think what he's going to do is he's going to fuck up Yuri Prochazka's legs. He's going to soften up the lead leg of Yuri, which is then going to create openings for him to then catch Yuri with his hands. And I see him getting a knockout in the second round. If Yuri's going to win this fight, I want him to grapple. Even though Alex is getting better at MMA, and that path to victory is not so simple against him anymore, it will at least give something Pereira another thing to worry about. Because right now Pereira, I know he's saying he's ready for everything, but if Yuri wrestles, it could help wear on Alex Pereira. Then Alex could worry about takedowns. It could set up the hands for Yuri Prochazka. But yeah, just striking against Alex, that's risky. But who knows? The risk could definitely pay off. Maybe he could knock Alex. I mean, he could, not maybe. He definitely could knock Pereira out 100%. And I'm going to talk about Yuri's path to victory, not just the grappling, but it's his pressure. And I did notice something about Pereira in the Jan fight is that whenever Jan was pressing forward and Alex was on the back foot, that's when Jan was actually catching Yuri. Or sorry, that's when Jan was actually catching Pereira. But Jan is like way too comfortable backing up. Didn't trust himself up against the power of Pereira, so he kept backing up, looking for failed takedowns. Yuri Prochazka is a pressure-heavy fighter, and that could work for or that could work against him. So yeah, I don't know. With that frantic pace and pressure and that chaotic striking style of Yuri, that could maybe create problems for Alex. Like if he can press Alex Pereira back and hit him enough times, he might be able to get the job done. I want to see what Pereira will do if he hurts Yuri near the cage. Well, then he's gonna swarm him against the cage and finish him. That's what I think will happen. Although maybe Yuri might take a page out of Izzy's book and play possum and catch Alex being reckless. That could happen, but I don't think Alex is going to make that mistake again. And not to mention, every time Alex touches down an MSG, he always catches a body. He never loses in Madison Square Garden ever. He beat Andreas Michailidis in MSG. Izzy in MSG, and apparently in Glory Kickboxing, he's won some matchups in MSG as well. So that's like his lucky location right there. But it's going to be a good fight either way. I cannot wait to be watching that. But didn't you see Alex holding himself back at the end of the second round when Jan was near the cage? Yeah, kind of. That is true, actually. I think it was the fear of the same thing because you know what happened with Izzy, right? I think it was the fear of repeating the same mistake against Adesanya. He didn't want to make that same mistake twice of getting reckless against the cage and getting caught. So I get why I get why Pereira was kind of hesitant. And plus, he was already coming off a knockout loss. So but now that he's got that win out of the way, he's not coming off a loss now. He's got his first fight done, like heavyweight. He's going to come back less cautious, you know? He won't be careless, but he's going to be more confident and aggressive. Who do you have winning on a fight between Macy Barber and Casey O'Neill? Is that fight booked? I think Macy Barber is going to crush her if that fight happens. I think Macy's just too strong, too physical. She's too powerful. I think she finishes Casey, and I'm not that impressed by O'Neill. I mean, she just lost to Jennifer Maia, who's not even in the UFC anymore. Like, I think O'Neill is an absolute fraud, whereas I think Barber is very good. She's talented and dangerous and improving. Oh, it's a fight you like. Um, yeah, that would be a good fight though. That probably could be the fight to make, but I want them to make Rose versus Barber. I'd prefer that. Okay, let's see. Okay. I don't think Yuri is so unpredictable and explosive. Sorry. I don't know. I think Yuri is so unpredictable and explosive, he can beat Alex, but this is a tough fight coming off a long layoff due to injury. I agree. But like I said, I just think it's going to be those calf kicks that are going to be the problem because the damage to the legs of Yuri is going to maybe take away that explosiveness, his ability to like spring forward, move the way he needs to. And then when he's not moving a lot, when he's plotting a bit more, he might be easier to hit. Um, Casey O'Neill is fighting Lipsky next. Okay, that's gonna be a good fight actually. I don't mind that one. The version of Poetan is going to be better because it's not his first fight coming off a flatline KO loss. Rejuvenated chin, increased muscle mass, not fighting at high altitude. Yeah, we're definitely going to see a better version of Pereira. We're 100% going to see the best version of Alex Poetan Pereira. Okay, okay, no more comments here. But I'm rooting for Prohaska, man. I want him to win. I want him to be champ again, man. I don't like how he lost that title through getting injured. He was supposed to fight Glover again. I had him win the rematch of that one so confidently. Then he just pulls out. And then not only does he pull out, his injury is so bad to where he needs a year off and then has to vacate. So that would suck to see him come back to try and regain that title just to fail to get it back. Man, I really wanted to see Walker fight Ankalaev. Me too, man. Me too. Like it was shaping up to be a good fight. Like when Walker played possum, pretending to be hurt by the body punch, and then Ankalaev almost ran to the flying knee, then took him down and started punching him on the ground. That's when the fight got really exciting, man. Like Ankalaev has been involved in some weird fights. Like something similar happened with the Kute Laba fight. Like they opened up, it got exciting. Kute Laba played possum, then the ref stopped it. I don't even think that fight should have been stopped. I think there was some miscommunication between Walker and the doctor. Because of that, the fight just gets stopped. Like Johnny did not look like he was out of it or done. Like he could have kept going. Islam is the best. Yes, he is. Jan is one of the best kick checkers, but Alex still was able to land on Yan. It will be interesting to see if Pereira works on Yuri's legs for 2 to 3 rounds. He definitely is going to, and like I said, I think those leg kicks are gonna be Yuri's undoing. You know what I mean? Yuri's gonna have to find a way to shut down those leg kicks, or he's not gonna win. And who knows, maybe with Yuri's forward pressure and keeping Alex on the back foot, maybe that could take away the kicks. That could maybe take away the leg kicks of Poatan. And if it just comes down to just hand-to-hand combat boxing, I mean, I'd say Pereira is a better boxer still, but it will give Yuri a better chance. Alex is hittable. He's there to be hit. He's got better defense than Yuri, obviously. He's got good defense, but I could see Yuri teeing off, and doing his fair share of damage. So if he's gonna win this fight, he's got to keep the pressure. Uh, he's got to take away the leg kicks and mix it up. But yeah, that was an interesting aspect though about the fight with Jan and Alex. I was really excited to see how the leg kicking battle would play out because Jan is such a good leg kicker and a good leg kick checker, and Alex is like one of the best leg kickers in the game. So I was really excited to see how that would like shape up in the fight and to see those calf kicks still getting through. That was crazy because Adesanya's calf kicks didn't land on Jan Blachowicz. Right then. One more thing I would like to talk about before I sign off. I've talked about this like a few times, but it's kind of frustrating what's going on in women's bantamweight, like how there's no fight booked at all. Like by the end of this year, we should have already had Pena versus Pennington booked. But I know Dana White just doesn't give a fuck about women's MMA because Nunes is gone. He's like, yeah, I'm not gonna book a fight. Fuck that division. No title fight. Like his lack of urgency is just so annoying. I don't know why. I have no idea why he's not booking a fight. But I don't know. I got a sneaking suspicion that Pena and Pennington are gonna fight in January, which is a bit late. They should just fucking fight now. But they decide to overstack UFC 296, so there's no room for that fight now. They can't fight in November, so I think they're gonna fight. They're gonna fight in January. I have a feeling. And I had a dream that that fight was in January too. When I saw Pena walk out, it was at UFC 297. So, and usually when I dream about a fighter on like a long layoff coming back, they usually always come back, and they come back soon. Like it was the same thing with Tatiana Suarez. And now Myra Bueno Silva suspended. Her win over Holly is overturned. Now main event Holly's back. Holly's probably back in the mix for a title shot now that she's not coming off a loss officially anymore. But I don't give a shit, man. Just do the fight with Pennington, Pena, and Rocky, and have Myra fight the winner. All right. But I think I covered everything, and right now no one's got anything to say, so I think I'm gonna sign off this live now. But it was fun talking to y'all, and I'll live stream again soon. But thank you all for joining.